I apologize about the audio quality in the first segment of that video. I was attempting to record with AirPods and it proved to be an exercise in futility. So if it is too low, if the volume's too low, you might want to plug some hardwired headphones in or turn your system volume up just to get through that first few minutes. I've got some hardwired headphones plugged in now so that the audio will be louder and clearer. What we're going to do now is I'm just going to run you through how to include all of these base elements into a document. What you see in front of you is a blank document, so a brand new document. The first thing you want to do is make sure that your header has a different first page than all following pages. You'll notice that the cover page did not have a page number on it, but the subsequent pages or your content pages did start with a page number in the top right, and it started with 2. So what you want to do is double click into your header tool, and you'll notice it automatically populates over to the header and footer tab. You'll want to click the different first page tab, and what that does is creates a unique header for the cover page that's different from all of the following headers. Step 1 is to put the title of your document in all caps. Now you might have seen in the past something similar to this running head. The new version or the 7th edition of APA Style Guide no longer requires that. It's instructor preference or publication preference. So most of the time you're going to see just the title of your document. You're going to always want to make sure that all of your text in your document is consistent, which is Times New Roman 12-point font. That includes your page numbers. So you'll see we programmed your shortened title here into that header. Let's go ahead and create a header on your second page. So say we were to go down here to your second page, you double click into this header the same way. And what you want to do first, it'll save you a lot of trouble, is to go ahead and click on Insert and insert your page number. It's going to go in the top right hand corner, and you'll notice it'll automatically populate 2. So that's how you get a different or no page number on the first header, but you do get consecutive numbering starting on your content pages. Now you'll notice that the cursor is right before the 2. It'll make your life a lot more easier if you go ahead and put the title of your document in like this, and then press the Tab key on your keyboard until it is flush left to the left margin of your document. Now you'll notice that we need to put it in the correct font, so I'm going to click the Home tab, and then I'm going to click on the drop down and make sure that it is also in Times New Roman 12-point font. And you also need to do the same with your page numbers. You can highlight that. You can do it on the mini toolbar that populates or up here. Again, we need to make sure that it is also in Times New Roman 12-point font. And you have to mess with it sometimes. You have to go in and you see how it didn't change all the way. And so sometimes you do have to just kind of play around with it until you get it to where it should be. Something that is important to note is that the title or the condensed title of your document that's in your header is going to be the same throughout. You're not going to have a different header here than is going to be on any other page. On your cover page, towards the center, you will have the title of your document with all of the major words capitalized. And you can highlight that and flush center. You want that to be in the very center of that page. Then you will usually have first name, last name here, organizational affiliation, and then some type of date. This will vary based on publication requirements or what your instructor prefers. Sometimes you'll even see a title that spans up here in bold. That's also correct, but this is a good starting point. So I'm going to go ahead and alter this and put it in the same consistent font as the rest of my document. And so that's how you will get your cover page font. Now, if you need to zoom out, depending on your usage of Microsoft Word in undergrad, some people have more, some people have less. You can always go up here to the View tab and you can click one page and it'll zoom out so you can make sure you're getting that information on the center of your page. Page width will zoom you right back in. And just a tip, if you hold the control key on your computer and if you have a scroller on your mouse, you can just hold control and zoom in and out. I'm rolling up on my scroller and then I'm rolling down to zoom out. So these are just different ways you can navigate to make sure your document's in the right format. On your second page, you always want to make sure that your text is flush to the top. So you'll see here, if I press the backspace, it'll go to the next page. I usually backspace and press enter to make sure I'm flush to the top of my content page. You're going to indent, and this is where your text would go. And then you would indent and it would, it would push it over typically to where it should be. I have a left. Ignore this. This is going to be automatic for your document. I was working on a document prior to this. So you would indent over here. So content text is here, and it's going to span throughout the document. You'll of course want to make sure that that text is also in Times New Roman 12-point font, like this. So you know there's no erroneous space here. You've got your cover page where it should be, and then finally, after you get done with your content text, you will have a references page, and your references will start just like this. It'll be entitled References, and then you'll start your references flush left. Now your references in all text, like I mentioned before, needs to be in Times New Roman 12-point font. Any subsections you have, which we call seriations, those are bolded. So you will always have a center bolded seriation for level 1, and depending on how many subsections you have within that section, that seriation will look different. And so that's where you will reference the APA manual to figure out how to do that. So that's the basic. I want to show you margins. That's also important. So if you go to Layout tab at the top and see margins here, you always want to make sure normal is selected, so 1 inch all around. That's going to ensure you have equal space all around your entire document. What I'm going to do now is swap back over to a document that someone else has put together, and I'm going to show you the most common pitfall. So by the time you can manipulate your headers, put your page numbers in, make sure your text, your seriation, and all of that is correct, you want to make sure you have equal space between your lines and then also between your paragraphs right here, for instance. All of the space should be equal. If you have any extra line of space, it automatically throws your document out of APA, and that's an issue. So we want to make sure that we're adhering to all of those. Here's how you do that. You can highlight your text, and you do this on the cover page also. So I'm highlighting, and I'm going to right click, and then you're going to go to paragraph, and you're going to look down here to spacing. You want to make sure that you're always at 0 points of space before and after. Double space, of course, as most of you already know. This is the box that almost everyone misses. You want to always ensure that you are checking or enabling the box that says don't add space between paragraphs of the same style. When we say style here, we are referring to APA, and so that means everything on our document is going to be equal space. Everything is equilateral, every line, every paragraph, every seriation, and all the space therein. So you always want to make sure that's checked. You will also do that for all of your text in your document. So you can highlight all of your text, and if, clearly if this were your document, you would highlight all of your text, and you would right click, paragraph, look to spacing, and make sure these are all set to 0, double, and then you click that box and hit OK. You may not see a lot of difference at the onset of making that change. However, what that does is clears up and programs all text in your document to make sure no erroneous space is there. And in the future, when we're working on including data sets, charts, graphs for a literature review, a lot of times when you implement those data sets and that information or graphs or images, if you will, into your document, that extra space can throw things off. It can push things to the next page. It can put an extra space at the end of your page, a line of space here and there that does not belong. So it's important that you make that adjustment both on your cover page, but also all of your text that follows. And then also the references section is not exempt. So if you go down here to the references section of whatever document you are drafting, you want to make sure that you do the same exact thing with your references section. You want to highlight all of those reference citations, go to paragraph, and make sure you're at 0, 0, double, and that you're enabling this box here. And you want to make sure there's a check mark in that box and hit OK. And that's going to make sure that all of your spacing is consistent through the references section, through your content, but also on your cover page content. This is how you essentially implement all of the building blocks of APA to make sure that any document you are drafting or composing is going to be consistent throughout. Now, of course, there are a lot of other elements and technicalities of APA, including how you cite. We'll cover a lot of that later, but the most important thing is to make sure that you understand the overall or overview aesthetic of what the document looks like and the basic elements. There's another video, formatting your documents in APA, that I've included under the support videos module in Canvas. If you want to go through exactly how I do that in a little bit more detail, that's there for you. Some of you may already be acclimated with this from your work in undergrad. But this is how you do this. So every document moving forward that you compose, you want it to be in this format. You want a cover page on every document you submit. You want your margins to be correct, your spacing to be correct. And also, one thing that I have to point out, make sure that you look at the third element in this module, which is the IPE 520 list of prohibited elements and important considerations. The number one most common pitfall for students coming into graduate school is the lack of objectivity. And so the goal is to separate yourself, your subjective experience, life experience, your opinions, your attitudes, your bias, anything that connects you with the content. The goal is to create a clear and distinct separation and to only provide data-driven information, factual information that's clear of bias, it's clear of any connection to the topic. And so that includes not including any personal pronouns such as I, me, my, we, us, our, you, definitely not referring to the audience as you, and also not including conversational elements such as frankly, at the end of the day, in conclusion, and other similar items. This is all not going to happen overnight. It's a stylistic change. It's a stylistic change in your own writing style, and it's going to take time and practice to learn how to do this. But this is the standard. I wanted to show you and provide you some larger context for what your documents will look like. On the 2 writing assignments that you submit for this module, you want to make sure that all of these APA elements are followed. Every single one of them must be followed in order to submit an assignment for credit. If you have any questions or you'd like me to show you how to do this on your device, feel free to reach out to me.